happening at Facebook? Good to see you on this beautiful Monday evening. I wanted to talk about a TV show that I watched last night, and it was on Channel 5. I don't really watch a lot of live TV, so it's a bit of a strange one. But me and the in-laws and the wife were watching a programme called Rich Kids Go Skint. Not particularly brilliant grammar, which is probably why I struggled there. And it was all about, basically the premise is that a kid that is, has a lot of privilege goes to stay for a few days with a poor family, and he gets to learn, about their life and about how they budget and about, I think the whole point of it is it's meant to be kind of not a dig at rich kids or rich families, but it's meant to sort of show them that maybe they overindulge and all these kind of things. And I think it's a really great message, really fantastic. You don't need to sort of there was one particular part of it where he was sitting there, this rich guy, I think he was in his early 20s, showing them his 10 grand watch, to which they then sort of responded with their budget and how after everything, bearing in mind that this couple also had a toddler as well, they had £40 left over after everything was paid for at the end of the month, which obviously isn't a huge amount to go by. The family lives up in Bolton, and I think that the mum wasn't working and the dad was sort of on minimum wage, and then he also had a Saturday job where he was leafleting, trying to earn a little bit of extra cash. And I like the programme. I think it's really good, and covers a lot of the points that I try to sort of talk about and raise in a lot of my videos and a lot of my content. Hey Lee, how's it going? And this particular programme, it really does show how people on the other side live, and it makes a really good comparison between the rich and the poor, which I think is good. However, there's a lot of things that they were completely missing on this show, and one of the things was they didn't focus on the poor family at all and what they were doing wrong or what they could improve on. It was all seemed to be centered on trying to alert this rich kid to how the other half lived and how maybe he could improve his way of going about his life by adopting some of the budgeting and things that the poor people were doing. And I kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I really agree with that. It's got to be a two-way thing. I think people can learn from both sides. And one of the things that certainly I noticed was, maybe because I'm a bit more alert to these sorts of things because of what I do for a living, and because of the kind of things I do on a day-to-day basis. But they were complaining quite a lot about the fact they didn't have a lot of money. However, here's sort of a list of things that I noticed. Number one was they were out and about doing this leaflet drop. Now, bearing in mind they're talking about how they've only got £40 left over at the end of the month, and the poorer guy, is got his bunch of leaflets in one hand and a can of Red Bull in the other. Now, okay, look, you could say delve a little deeper. Maybe that's the only thing he's consuming all day, in which case he needs some energy, and that's fine. However, I know this is going to sound really ridiculous, but if you only have £40 left over at the end of each week, £1.80 end of each month, £1.80 on a Red Bull is a lot of money. That's a relatively high percentage of that leftover money, especially when you could just go to Tesco and get their equivalent for 50p, or Sainsbury's and their equivalent for 50p, or you just don't buy it at all. He's also walking along in a pair of relatively new looking Adidas trainers. Now, I know you can go to Sports Direct now and get a lot of these trainers for probably 40 quid, but that's a month of leftovers. You can go to Primark and you can buy a pair of trainers. They probably could be using that money better. And it just got me thinking that if they're making these really subtle mistakes, I think, in budgeting, if you delve deeper, how many more of these mistakes are they making? And it got me thinking about not just what they're spending, but actually the income as well. Now, I don't know what their background is in terms of the family that they have around them, but I'm sure that they probably could get somebody, a friend or a family, to look after the kid one evening a week, and the mum could go out and get a job, maybe working in Tesco's in the evening, or a bar job, or something like that. And I felt like I'm being really condescending or really looking down, but I genuinely am not. I do think that they could probably do a lot more to improve their situation. That's just one example of that. If £40 is genuinely what they have left over, I worked out based on what he was saying that I think he probably earns about £15,000 a year. Now, if he went to his boss and asked for, a £10 a week pay rise, he's doubling the amount that they have left over, before taxes, obviously, each month. That makes a massive difference. Yet really, from a percentage point of view, that's not a lot more. He could ask for overtime, or he could go out and find a better job, and I sound like I'm being really harsh on these people, and I'm not. It's because I actually care, and it's because I actually really do genuinely believe that a lot of these people could probably be making more of the situation that they're in. It was very, very obvious that these guys were very switched on. In fact, they could, really, really easily come up with what their budget was. They could talk that through. They obviously do a lot in terms of making sure that they have enough money each week to ensure that their little boy always had enough to eat, and he had toys and things like that. So they were looking after the most important thing, and that's really, really important. But what they but I do think they probably could have done. They could be doing extra things. Not buying the Red Bull. I mean, if he buys one every single week, just say you round it up to £2. That's £8. £8 out of the £40, that takes it down to 32. That's a big chunk. And then you're putting in, how many times, a year is he buying himself new trainers? I don't know. Obviously I'm making certain assumptions here, and it could be that he thought, I'm going to be on TV, I want to get some new trainers, and, those sorts of things. But, what sort of sacrifices they do. Both of them were covered in tattoos, and as someone who has tattoos themselves, I know how expensive they are. So, how much money are they spending per year on tattoos? It's just thinking about these things, and I think that the premise of this particular show, I really do genuinely believe they should expand it into talking a little bit about, maybe getting a third party in to discuss with both of them what they can learn from each other and what, how they can help them out. I think, helping poorer families, perceived poorer families, work better with their money is a great thing. And I think it just highlights the fact as well that, in the UK, across the Western world, the education system in terms of looking after yourself and budgeting and understanding money is really not very good. And we could be doing a lot more. We need to know where Mount Vesuvius is, but most people leave school without even understanding how to open a bank account. It's crazy. So I think there's a lot to be taken from that, and I do think it's a worthwhile program to watch. So if you are in the UK, go on to the 5 catch up and have a look and have a look at the program. I think it's definitely well worth catching up on. But food for thought. I'll leave it there, and just want to say thanks very much for watching. If you have liked this, please share it with other people. That'd be great. I'd like to get my message across to other people, reach a new audience. If you're listening on the podcast, this will be going out on the podcast as well. Please do share the link around as well. And of course, if you like some of the stuff that I'm putting on, I do actually have a part-time entrepreneur community on Facebook as well, which if you're listening on the podcast, you'll find in the show notes. If you're watching on Facebook, then I'll put a link to below in the comments, but you should also be able to find it on my page as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.